I killed my own brother with a single keystroke. And the world cheered me for it. Not literally. Of course, bodies don't drop from code alone, but in the cutthroat game of Silicon Valley dreams, that's as close as it gets to pulling a trigger. And here's the kicker. I did it all from inside his skin, wearing his face like a mask I stole in the dead of night. The rain hammered the windshield of my beat-up Honda Civic as I idled in the shadow of the Golden Gate Bridge. The kind of relentless Bay Area downpour that turns the city into a watercolor smear. It was 2 years ago, almost to the day, when my family decided I was the punchline they'd been waiting for. Eleanor Hayes, the eternal disappointment. Fresh out of community college with a backpack full of dog-eared Lonely Planet guides and a head full of half-baked ideas about authentic travel experiences. They'd gathered in the living room of our cramped Oakland bungalow, Mom nursing her third Chardonnay, Dad buried in his sports section, and my golden boy brother, Victor, sprawled on the couch like he owned the place. Which, let's be real, he kinda did. Ellie, sweetheart, Mom had said, her voice dripping with that pitying lilt she reserved for stray cats and me. Tour guiding? In this economy? Honey, that's adorable. But she trailed off, glancing at Victor for backup. He didn't disappoint. Come on, sis, he'd chuckled, tossing a balled-up napkin at my head. You're basically gonna be herding tourists around Fisherman's Wharf, dodging seagulls, and explaining why the cable cars cost an arm and a leg. Real glamorous gig. Why not just Uber for rich Europeans full-time? The room erupted in laughter. Dad's booming guffaw. Mom's tinkling giggles. Even Aunt Rita from the corner, who'd flown in from Sacramento just to remind everyone how our kids were making it big in real estate. I stood there, plate of lukewarm lasagna in hand, feeling the heat rise in my cheeks like I'd been slapped. 25 years old, and I was still the family joke. Victor, on the other hand, he was the tech whiz, the one who dropped out of Stanford to disrupt something vague in fintech, pulling in seed money from VCs who mistook his suffer-dude charm for genius. Our parents worshipped him. I was just the afterthought, the girl who'd tanked her GPA chasing photography electives instead of practical degrees. But that night, as I slunk back to my shoebox apartment in the Mission District, something shifted. I fired up my laptop, the screen's glow cutting through the fog of hurt like a knife. I'd been tinkering with this app idea for months, Wanderwise, a hyperlocal travel platform that used AI to curate off-the-beaten-path experiences, ditching the cookie-cutter tours for real stories from locals. No more overpriced Alcatraz lines. Think hidden speakeasies in the Castro or secret hikes in the Marin headlands that only insiders knew. I'd coded the beta myself. Late nights fueled by bodega coffee and spite, sketching wireframes on napkins while Victor's parties thumped through the walls next door. I poured my soul into it. Mapped user journeys that felt like therapy sessions, prompts like, "What's your heartbreak flavor today?" to match escapes accordingly. Tested it on unwitting tourists during my shifts, watching their eyes light up as my app led them to a taqueria where the abuela's tamales could mend a bad breakup. It wasn't just an app, it was my rebellion, my proof that I wasn't the loser they painted me as. By dawn, I'd hit upload to a private GitHub repo, dreaming of pitching it at TechCrunch Disrupt. 2 weeks later, Victor cornered me in the kitchen, his grin too wide, eyes too sharp. "Hey, and heard about this cool travel thing you're messing with. Mind if I take a peek?" I hesitated. Trust issues run deep in families like ours, but blood's thicker than code. Right? I shared the repo. Big mistake. The betrayal hit like a freight train. A month in, I got the call from Mom. "Ellie, the police were here." Something about embezzlement from Victor's startup? They think you. Honey, did you touch his accounts? My stomach dropped. Victor's fintech gig had been laundering investor cash through offshore shells, classic Silicon Valley sleight of hand, the kind whispered about in dark corners of Y Combinator afterparties. But he'd framed me. Forged timestamps on my laptop. Planted dummy transactions linking back to Wanderwise's domain I'd registered under my name. The cops hauled me in for questioning, cuffs cold against my wrists, while Victor played the devastated sibling on the evening news. My sister's always been troubled. We tried to help her. I spent 3 nights in county lockup, the kind of place where dreams go to die under fluorescent buzz. Released on bail, Dad grudgingly posted, but the damage was done. Wanderwise? Vaporized. Victor had borrowed the code, rebranded it as Nomad Forge, his baby, pitched to the same VCs who'd laugh me out of coffee chats. Overnight, he was the visionary, I was the cautionary tale, blackballed from every co-working space in the Bay. That's when the secret clawed its way out. In the dim interrogation room, a fedora-wearing Fed, not your typical G-man, more like a chain-smoking war throwback, slid across a manila folder. Hayes, he rasped, voice like gravel. Your brother's not just a thief. He's a ghost in the machine. CIA Black Ops. Off books. That fintech shell? Funding wet work in Eastern Europe. You took the fall for a hit gone wrong, some oligarch's accountant who crossed the wrong asset. My world tilted. Victor, the slacker bro with the man bun and microdosing habits? A spook? The folder spilled horrors, redacted cables, grainy photos of him in fatigues. Not surfing trestles, but vanishing dissidents in Kiev. And me? Collateral. He'd needed a patsy to bury the trail. And who better than the family fuck-up? Rage isn't a fire, it's a virus. Rewriting your code from the inside. I clawed my way out of that hole, scraping gigs as a freelance translator in the Tenderloin, dodging repo men and Victor's pitying texts. Get help, sis. For your own good. But in the underbelly of San Francisco's hacker dens, the dim-lit basements of Valencia Street, where crypto-anarchists brew dark web elixirs, I found Silas Crow. Silas was a relic. A grizzled ex-NSA cryptographer who'd traded Langley for a Faraday-caged loft in Dogpatch, peddling forbidden fruits to the desperate. Bald as a cue ball, tattoos snaking up his neck like circuit boards. He chain-smoked hand-rolls and spoke in riddles about the weave, quantum entanglement on steroids, a black-budget project to swap consciousnesses across neural nets. Not sci-fi. Kid, he'd wheezed, exhaling blue haze. It's the weave. DARPA's dirtiest secret. Slip into another skin. Rewrite the narrative from the source. I laughed at first, delirium from a week without sleep. But Silas demoed it. A wristband rig. Humming with entangled qubits. Jury-rigged from scavenged quantum chips. One pulse, he said, and you're them. They wake up in your meat suit. Disoriented as a drunk at last call. Reversible. If you don't chicken out. The cost? My life savings. $8 for 72 from Odd Jobs, and a favor down the line. Desperation has a barcode. I scanned it. The swap happened on a fog-choked midnight in his loft, the Golden Gates foghorn moaning like a dirge. I synced the band to Victor's biometric data, stolen from his smartwatch during a family dinner I'd faked for the occasion. The pulse hit like lightning in my veins, a vertigo whirl. Synapses firing backward. I blacked out to the scent of patchouli and solder flux. Waking up was violation incarnate. I flexed fingers that weren't mine longer, callous from climbing walls. not gripping termaps. Mirrored in Silas's grimy bathroom, Victor's face stared back, all chiseled jaw and ocean blue eyes. My reflection, a stranger's smirk. Downstairs, my old body stirred on the cot. Eleanor's slight frame groaning. What the fuck? Elle? Is that you? It was me. Trapped in Victor's shell. And vice versa. The weave held. We'd crossed the threshold. Victor, now in my skin, stumbled, panic etching lines on my former face. This isn't real. Some acid flashback. Ellie, fix this. But I was already moving, heart pounding with borrowed adrenaline. Slipping into his walk, that cocky saunter I'd envied since high school. First order, reconnaissance. Victor's life was a gilded cage. Penthouse in Soma. Tesla in the garage. A Rolodex of power players who called him Vic the Fix. I played the part, nailing his lingo, dropping synergies and hockey stick growth like confetti, while inside, I seethed. Nomad Forge was exploding, $50 million valuation. Billboards in Union Square touting, revolutionize your Rome. My code. His glory. But the underbelly? Encrypted drives in his safe revealed the rot. CIA cutouts funneling app data to Langley. Geolocating tourists who were really marks. Wanderwise soul, those intimate prompts, now profiling assets for rendition. I started small. Sabotage from within. Tweaked the algorithm to route VIP users to dead ends, a venture capitalist's luxury glamping in the Sierras turning into a mudslide nightmare. Complete with viral TikToks of him knee-deep in bear shit. Whispers spread. Nomad Forge glitching. Vic's losing his edge. Investors fidgeted at pitch meetings. I feigned migraines. Buying time. Victor. Meanwhile, unraveled in my old apartment. Texts from me flooded in. Erratic.
Pleading.
Help me.
Bro.
This body's weak. Can't even lift a beer without cramping. I ghosted him, letting isolation gnaw. Mom called. Victor, voice shrill. Your sister's off the rails again.
Screaming about body swaps.
Get her committed. I demurred. Playing the concerned sib. She's always been dramatic.
Ma.
I'll handle it. The tension coiled like a spring. Power's a drug, and Victor's veins were laced with it. Late nights. I pored over his black book, senators on speed dial. Oligarchs wiring crypto for consulting. The secret he'd buried deepest? Our father's death wasn't the heart attack they'd sold. Victor had dosed him, fentanyl A scotch, to cover a botched op where Dad, a retired cop, had stumbled onto Vic's double life. I'd taken the fall?
No.
I'd been the shield. Vic pinned the accidental OD on my instability, citing my history of substance issues he'd fabricated. Rage metastasized. I needed leverage. Enter Lena Voss. Victor's ex, a sharp-tongued litigator from Palo Alto. Discarded when she got too close to his ghosts. I bumped into her at a rooftop mixer in the Embarcadero. All Victor charm dialed to 11. Lena. Babe. Water under the bridge. Right? 2 martinis in. She spilled. Dossiers on Vic's hits. Stashed in a Cayman drive. He thinks he's untouchable. But Karma's a bitch with a subpoena. With her intel, I escalated. Hacked the CIA backchannel via Silas's weave rig, quantum tunneling through firewalls like a ghost in the wires. Leaked snippets to WikiLeaks, Nomad Forge as the new prism, tracking innocents for black bag jobs. The fallout? Congressional hearings, SEC probes. Victor's stock plummeted. VCs bailed like rats from the Presidio. But revenge isn't tidy. Victor in my body started fighting back. He showed up at my old job site, a tour group milling outside the Exploratorium. Disheveled, wild-eyed in Eleanor's frame. He cornered stragglers. Don't trust her app. It's poison. She stole my life. Cops hauled him away for disorderly. But the damage lingered. Online forums buzzed. Nomad Forge whistleblower? Or jealous hack? I confronted him in the psych ward at San Francisco General, slipping past nurses in Victor's crisp button-down. He was strapped down, my old face gaunt, eyes feral. You bitch, he hissed. This we've shit? Silas is a plant. DARPA's beta test, you're the lab rat. My blood iced. Twist 1. Victor knew about the tech. He'd commissioned Silas years back for asset extractions in the field. I'd been played. The swap wasn't theft. It was bait. Climax brewed in a warehouse on the waterfront, fog rolling off the bay like cigarette smoke. I'd lured the board, Nomad Forge suits, for an emergency pivot. Lena waited in the wings. Recorder live. As projections flickered, revenue nosediving. Leaks viral. I dropped the bomb. Gentlemen, Nomad Forge isn't mine. It's Eleanor's. And it's built on bones. Chaos erupted. Phones buzzed with alerts. One exec bolted for the door, only to find feds swarming. Lena's tip-off. Victor crashed the party then. Escaped from the ward. My body a vessel for his fury. He lunged. Syringe glinting, potassium chloride. The spook's kiss of death. End this. Ellie. Wake up in your own hell. I dodged. The weave rig on my wrist humming.
Pulse.
Double tap. Consciousness snapped back, Victor's mind slamming into his own flesh. Mine reeling into the familiar ache of Eleanor's scars. He crumpled, gasping. The syringe clattering.
No. How?
The twist gutted me. As sirens wailed, Silas emerged from the shadows. Fedora tipped. Kid. The weave? It's one way for amateurs. Victor's been you longer than you know. Flashback. That heart attack night? I'd blacked out after spiked wine. Victor's doing. He'd swapped us then. Brief. To frame me for the OD. I'd lived years as the loser, his puppet, while his consciousness puppeteered from afar,
Testing the tech on family.
the truth inverted. I wasn't the victim. I was the monster reborn. Nomad Forge, now Wanderwise 2.0. Rebranded under my name. Hit $1 billion valuation overnight. Leaks turning sympathy my way. Underdog tour guide exposes spy ring. Headlines screamed. Victor? Indicted. Shipped to a black site in Nevada. His screams echoing in my nightmares. But victory's hollow. Mom visits Sundays. Eyes vacant. Whispering. Who are you? Really? I drive the Tesla now. But the wheel feels foreign. Was it revenge? Or just another swap? The weave lingers in my veins. A ghost itch. One more pulse. And maybe I'll trade it all for peace. Or maybe I'll burn it down. Your call? Reader, hero, or haunt? The acquisition buzz hit like a rogue wave at Mavericks, sudden, crushing, impossible to outrun. It was 6 months post-swap, post-climax, and I'd barely caught my breath when the email pinged. Offer for Wanderwise, $1.2 billion cash plus equity. Sender, Apex Global. The behemoth behind every app from Uber to that godforsaken meditation ringtone service. I stared at the screen in my new loft, Victor's old perch. All floor-to-ceiling views of the bay and minimalist furniture that screamed, I have a personal chef, feeling the ghost of his fingers on the keys. Part of me wanted to smash the laptop. Shards flying like confetti at a funeral. But Eleanor's pragmatism, the tour guide who'd haggled with stingy Europeans over tip jars, won out. Sign it, Lena advised over takeout pho in her Bernal Heights walk-up, her lawyer brain dissecting clauses like a surgeon. This buys you armor. Against him. Against them. Them being the shadowy alphabet soup, CIA, DARPA, the Weave's puppet masters who'd let Victor play God for years. The deal closed in a blur of NDAs and champagne toasts at the Battery. That exclusive Soma club where tech bros network like it's the Constitutional Convention. I wore a pantsuit, tailored, emerald green, Lena's pick, and channeled Victor's swagger. But inside, my stomach churned. Flashes of the warehouse fight replayed, his eyes wide with betrayal, as the Weave recoiled. I'd saved myself. Doomed him. Hero? Or just survivor? Overnight, I was Eleanor Hayes, the Cinderella of code. Forbes dropped from fog to fortune, the tour guide who toppled a spy empire. Late-night slots on CNBC had me squinting under studio lights. Spinning the yarn. Family betrayal forged me. Nomad Forge was my stolen child. Wanderwise is the reckoning. Viewers ate it up. America loves a redemption arc. Especially when it smells like popcorn schadenfreude. My bank account swelled. Invites flooded for TED Talks. South by Southwest keynotes. But the high was laced with rot. Victor's trial was sealed. Of course, national security gag order thicker than red tape. Whispers from Lena's contacts. Supermax in Colorado. Isolation, so deep he might as well be on Mars. I'd visit, they said, if I sign the waiver. I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I funneled the windfall into Wanderwise relaunch. Ethical AI. Data privacy ironclad. Partnerships with indigenous guides in the Southwest. No more profiling, just pure wanderlust. The kind that heals. But secrets fester. Silas called one drizzly afternoon. Voice crackling from a burner in Reno.
Kid.
The Weaves got hooks. You're glowing, quantum residue. They know. Who? The Weavers. He meant DARPA's Ghost Division. Experimenting since the 90s on unwilling vets. Victor had been their star. Swapping into diplomats for intel grabs.
Me?
Accidental upgrade. Run the rig backward, Silas urged. Purge it. Or weaponize. I chose weaponize. Nights blurred into code binges. The Lofta Warren of white bards scrawled with entanglement equations. Wanderwise 2.0 wasn't just an app, it was a Trojan horse. Buried in the user prompts, subtle scans for resonance, Weaver's tells, like anomalous EEG spikes from partial swaps. Beta testers, handpicked hackers from the old dens, reported hits, a venture capitalist in Menlo Park glitching mid-pitch. Confessing to insider trades, a senator's aide in D.C. Unraveling. Spilling on backroom deals. The controversy ignited like dry tinder. First leak. A Wired expose. Is Wanderwise mind-reading users? Protests erupted, privacy hawks chaining themselves to my office door in the Mission. Signs screaming, Eleanor's eyes everywhere. Pundits on Fox called me the new Snowden with venture capital. CNN ran segments on ethical whiplash, the underdog exposing spies. Now spying herself? My inbox brimmed with death threats. Fangirl DMs. Subpoenas from every committee with oversight in the title. Mom showed up unannounced, her Buick wheezing into the valet line like an old grudge. She looked smaller, frilier, the Chardonnay flush replaced by hospital pale skin.
Ellie.
Or whoever you are now. We sat on the balcony, fog muting the city hum, herbal tea steaming between us. She unpacked the family lore I'd half forgotten. Dad's heart attack wasn't the first shadow. Grandpa Hayes, a Pinkerton detective in the 70s, had tangled with CIA mind control experiments, MKUltra holdovers. He came home. Wrong, she whispered. Eyes like yours now. Seeing too much. The revelation landed like a gut punch. The weave wasn't Victor's whim. It was inheritance. A curse coded in our bloodline. Grandpa's exposure, accidental radiation from a test site, had primed us. Quantum quirks dormant till triggered. Victor had awakened it, but I'd amplified. You're playing with fire. Baby, Mom said, tears carving tracks. End it. For him. For us. Her plea haunted. Victor's echoes lingered in dreams, his laugh in my throat, his regrets bleeding through the weave's frayed edges. I dug deeper. Hacking DARPA archives via Silas's backdoors, terabytes of horror, swaps on POWs. Consciousnesses shattered like glass. One file chilled. Subject EH. Partial integration. From the spike years ago. Victor hadn't just framed me, he'd partially overwritten, seeding doubts that bloomed into my loser years. Tension peaked at the Aspen Ideas Festival. That powder keg confab where billionaires brainstorm Armageddon over kale smoothies. I keynote, travel as truth serum, unmasking the invisible. Crowd rapt, Laureen Powelljobs nodding. Some cryptos are live tweeting. Then, mid-slide, the glitch. My wristband, the weave rig, disguised as a fitness tracker, vibrated. Unbidden. Vision tunneled, not the stage, but a sterile lab, 80s fluorescence buzzing. Grandpa's face. Younger. Strapped to a gurney. Screaming as shadows in white coats pulsed a device. For the weave, they intoned. Snap back, applause thundering. But my nose bled. Panic rippled. A stagehand rushed me off, whispering, "Ma'am, your eyes," they flickered. Flickered like a bad VHS. Word spread. By dinner, I was the freak show. Tech titans cornered me at the Stargazer bar. Eleanor, level with us. Psychedelics? Neuralink hack. I deflected. But inside, the virus spread. The weave was destabilizing, residual entanglements pulling threads from the collective. Ghosts of swaps past leaking in. Back in the bay, Silas bolted to ground. They're coming.
Kid.
Clean house. I torched the rig in a Tiburon bonfire. Flames devouring qubits like kindling. But too late. Black SUVs prowled my street. Anonymous calls warned of extraction. Lena pulled strings. Got me a safe house in Big Sur, cliffside cabin. Waves crashing like accusations. There. In salt air and isolation. The real revenge crystallized. Not destruction, but exposure. I compiled the archive, every leaked file, every confession, into a dead man's switch, viral payload, set to deploy if I went dark. Wanderwise became the vector. App updates embedding manifestos in metadata. Users unwittingly carried the torch. Hikers in Yosemite downloading trails laced with DARPA dirt. Yogis in Sedona syncing meditations that whispered whistleblower truths. The climax wasn't fists or code. It was oppressor in the Castro. Rainbow flags snapping in the wind. I stood at a podium cobbled from milk crates. Lena at my flank. Cameras from Vice to the Chronicle hungry. The weave isn't fiction, I declared. Voice steady despite the phantom itch. It's America's shadow self, swapping souls to swap power. My brother? A pawn.
Me?
The glitch that broke free. Dumps hit the net simultaneous. Terabytes unredacted. Headlines exploding like fireworks. Fallout? Biblical. DARPA brass resigned. Congressional probes birthed the Hayes Act, banning neural meddling. Wanderwise stock, post-acquisition. Apex spun it off, soared to $1.50 bill. But I cashed out partial, seeding a foundation for swap survivors. Vets with fragmented psyches. Families shattered by ghosts. Yet the controversy lingers. A Rorschach test. Am I liberator or loose cannon? Forums debate. Eleanor's a patriot. Blew the lid off Big Brother versus. She's unhinged. Doxing innocence for clicks. Mom calls weekly. Voice softer. Proud of you.
Kid.
But visit him? Before it's too late. I do. Finally. Supermax visiting room. Plexiglass divide. Victor's face, my old one, hollowed by years. Sis, he croaks. No fight left. The weave. It showed me everything. Dad knew. He swapped once. To save you from a bad crowd as a teen. Said it changed him. Another reversal. Protection, not curse. Our eyes meet. Mirrors within mirrors. I walk out into Nevada dust. Free but fractured. The app hums on my phone, a notification. New path unlocked. Forgiveness trail. Do I take it? That's the debate. The dark heart of it all. Revenge rebuilt me. But at what cost? The road forks, America's watching. Fame's a double-edged surfboard, exhilarating till it wipes you out. A year into the Hayes Act era, Wanderwise had morphed from app to movement, pop-up experiences in national parks, VR realms for housebound dreamers, even a Netflix docuseries. Swapped shadows that grossed Emmys and eye rolls in equal measure. I was the face Eleanor 2.0. Ted Fellow. Time's guardian of the mind, but the crown chafed. Paranoia was my new normal. Every glitchy Zoom a potential hack. Every stranger's glance a Weaver scout. Silas resurfaced in a Taos adobe. Gaunt as a peyote vision. Brewing herbal purges that tasted like regret. The residue's fading, he muttered. Grinding roots under a full moon. But echoes remain. You've got ghosts. Ellie, not just Vix. The weave's a web, tug one strand. He trailed off. Eyes distant. Like he'd seen his own swap go south. Over weak coffee. He confessed, his NSA days birthed the tech. A gift to DARPA that backfired when test subjects rioted. Souls splintered. Victor's trial?
Bait.
They want you the stable anchor. Quantum gold. The threat crystallized during a book tour stop in Austin, South by Southwest's hangover. All barbecue and burnout. Post-reading Q&A at Book People. A fan lingered, mid-40s, salt and pepper beard. Hand extended with a USB drive. For the cause, he said. Accent clipped, Eastern Bloc echo. Inside, blueprints, Weave 2.0. Scalable. Weaponized for mass psyops. From the inside, his note read. Use it. Or they will. I bolted to Lena's. Drive quarantined in a Faraday pouch. We dissected it over Tex-Mex. Her litigator cool cracking. This is treason squared.
El. But.
Leverage. The files painted a nightmare. DARPA outsourcing to private contractors, Apex among them. My acquirers. Wanderwise data? Fuel for the fire. Ethical firewalls be damned. Betrayal redux. The $1.20 bill deal was a honey trap. Apex weavers embedding hooks in the code I'd reclaimed. Rage. That old friend.
Surged.
But this time, laced with savvy. No lone wolf hacks. I assembled a shadow board. ex-NSA whistleblowers. Ethical hackers from the Electronic Frontier Foundation. Even a rogue Apex engineer who defected after a conscience swap, ironies bite. We convened in a Reno safe house. Silas's old haunt. Plotting under codenames. Operation Echo Chamber. The plan was surgical controversy. Infiltrate Apex's board retreat in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, elk steaks and TED-style circle jerks for the 1%. I'd pose as Consultant Eleanor, weave residue granting me a parlor trick, micro-suggestions, planting doubts like seeds in fertile egos. Lena greased palms for access. The defector fed floor plans. Wyoming hit like a cold front. Tetons looming. Air crisp with pine and privilege. The lodge was a fortress of reclaimed barnwood and hypocrisy, solar panels powering private jets. I mingled in cashmere. Victor's charm a skin I shed reluctantly. Dropping lines like synergy in the shadows, who's really driving. Eyes glazed, hooks set. Night 2. The gala, crystal chandeliers. String quartet murdering Springsteen. Apex's CEO. Harlan Crow, no relation to Silas. Thank Christ, cornered me by the charcuterie. Eleanor. Darling. That doc. Inspired. But let's talk evolution. His smile was shark sleek. Eyes scanning for tells. I mirrored. Weave tingling. Evolution's messy. Harlan. Sometimes you swap the predator for the prey. He laughed. Clinking glasses. But the seed took. By dessert. Bored whispers turn toxic. Harlan's weave play reckless. Hayes acts toothless without teeth. Our plant, the engineer, posing as sommelier, spiked the port with a nanotracer, linking devices to our payload. Dawn raid. Feds. Tipped by anonymous, Lena's ghosts. Swarmed the helipads. Harlan's empire cracked. Indictments for neural collusion. Headlines screaming, Apex's mind heist. Billionaire's brain game busted. Wanderwise stock. I'd retained veto rights. Decoupled. Soaring independent.
Me?
Untouchable. The accidental avenger. But controversy's currency is blood. Protests swelled. Apex loyalists doxing me as corporate killer. MAGA forums branding the Hayes Act. Deep state overreach. A pipe bomb at my Oakland office defused.
But the note?
Swap this. Mom spiraled. Checking into rehab. Your father's rolling in his grave. Ellie. Or whoever's in there. The human toll mounted. Silas vanished mid-perch. A suicide note blaming the web's recoil. Lena confessed doubts over late-night calls. Are we heroes? Or just the next monsters? I pushed on. But cracks showed, migraines like weave withdrawals. Visions of swapped lives bleeding in, a key of journalists' final broadcast. Cut short by Victor's shadow. Twist brewed in the unlikeliest place, a family reunion. Engineered by Aunt Rita's guilt-tripping emails. Lake Tahoe cabin. Snow-dusted pines. The Hayes clan minus Vic. Mom's sober but shattered. Dad's ghost in every photo. Rita cornered me by the fire pit. Ellie? The app. It's you. But not. Victor left something. She pressed a thumb drive, heirloom. Grandpa's. Inside, journals. Frantic scrawl from 78. The pulse took me into the guard, saw the orders. Coltra's endgame. Control the collective. But I brought back a warning. For my girl. Grandpa hadn't died in obscurity. He'd swapped to sabotage, alerting insiders before the cancer we've induced claimed him. The warning? Coordinates for a buried server farm in Nevada. DARPA's ARC. Every swap log. Every victim archived. Use it, his last entry urged. Burn the web. Climax. Solo op. Because trust's a luxury I couldn't afford. Black site raid under starless sky. Chain link and guards with itchy triggers. Weave residue guided me. Intuition sharpened to blade point, slipping past patrols like a specter. Inside. Humming servers. Air chilled to preserve qubits. I jacked in. Payload deploying. Self-destruct virus. Logs streaming live to global nodes, WikiLeaks. Tor relays. Even Wanderwise user base. Alarms wailed. Boots thundered. I ran. Heart slamming. Data firehosing truths. Swaps on world leaders. Corporate coups. A president's gaffe, exposed as echo. Escape was blur. Stolen Humvee barreling into desert dawn. Feds in pursuit till a sandstorm swallowed us whole. Aftermath? Catharsis laced with chaos. The ARC's burn birthed the Echo Uprising, global protests. Neural rights enshrined in EU charters. Apex dismantled like Enron on steroids. Wanderwise? Pivoted to therapy tech, helping swap survivors reintegrate. My fortune funded it all. But the billion? Pocket change against the soul debt. Victor's last letter smuggled out. You won, sis. But the weave's in us now. Family curse or gift. Forgive me. I burned it on Tahoe's shore. Ashes scattering on wind-whipped waves. Mom watched. Hand in mine, he was broken. We all were. Debate rages. Did I save minds or shatter them? The uprising freed thousands, psyches reclaimed, but collateral. Suicides from exposed secrets. Economies wobbling from elite purges. I'm the lightning rod. Exiled to a Big Sur retreat. Writing this as confession or manifesto. Heroic reckoning. Or hubristic hell. You decide. The app pings. Path ahead. Redemption Ridge. I lace boots. Time to walk it. Exile suits me. In fits and starts, Big Sur's cliffs a jagged mirror to the mind's edges. Waves gnashing like unresolved code. 2 years since the ARC burned, and the world's still reeling. Neural firewalls in every gadget. Hayes protocols taught in Ethics 101 at Stanford. Wanderwise endures as a non-profit behemoth, curating soul-safe journeys, apps that map not just trails, but traumas. Users rave. Eleanor's fix healed my PTSD. But reviews lie. Nothing heals whole. The controversy? Eternal flame. Podcasters dissect me like a frog. Patriot or paranoiac? Bookshelves sag with bios, hagiographies from the left, hatchet jobs from the right. I dodge them all. Holing up in this driftwood cabin. Solar-powered and off-grid. Silas's perturbs steeping in the kettle. Lena visits monthly. Her partnership at a Bay Area firm booming on Echo-class actions. You're a ghost. She teases, unpacking contraband in and out. But ghosts win wars.
Do they?
Nightmares say otherwise. The weave's echoes faint now. Like radio static, replay fragments, Victor's first swap. A scared kid in Dad's body. Learning the family trade too young. Grandpa screams. Not pain but prophecy. And mine, that teenage blackout, not rebellion but erasure. Victor puppeteering to protect me from a dealer who'd targeted Hayes' blood. Protection as prison. We'd all been swapped. Cycling curses in a quantum conga line. Mom's the anchor. Fragile but fierce. She moved nearby Monterey Cottage. Volunteer shifts at the aquarium. Rebuilding in strokes. Your father's proud, she says. Showing faded Polaroids. Dad with toddler me on his shoulders. Victor glowering in the corner. He swapped once more. You know. For Vic's first op.
Came back.
Quieter. The revelation settles like fog. Dad's heart attack was self-inflicted. Potassium to end the cycle before it claimed us all. Heroism's quietest form, silence as sacrifice. I visit Victor quarterly. The Supermax a ritual of plexiglass and regret. He's withered.
My old face a map of regrets.
But lucid therapy and time stripping the spook. He rasps last time.
Palm to glass. The billion?
It was always yours. I coded the pivot, nomad to wander, before the swap. My gift. Lie or absolution. His eyes, my eyes, hold no deceit. Twist final. Redemption wasn't mine alone. He'd rigged the fall, knowing the weave would rebound, forcing me to rise. We talk hours. Ops gone wrong. The CIA's soul suck. How powers just borrow time. Finish it, he urges. The last archive, mobile unit. Black Ops in Guam. Burn it,
sis.
For Dad. Coordinates scribbled on contraband napkin. Smuggled by a guard Lena charmed. The ops my swan song, no team. Just ghosts and grit. Guam's humidity clings like guilt. Jungle trails sucking at boots as I trek to the bunker. Prefab concrete. Humming with off-books hum. Guards are ghosts themselves, contractors. Eyes hollow from partials. I bluff entry with a forged badge. Weave echo lending authorities timbre. Inside, the Ark's bastard child. Servers pulsing with fresh horrors, swaps on refugees. Climate dissidents vanished into allies' skins. I jack in. Virus blooming like digital kudzu. Alarms shriek. Shadows converge. But the payload's poetic. Not destruction, but mirror. Weaver's minds flooded with victims' echoes, psyches recoiling in mutiny. Escape's frenzy. Gunfire cracking palms. My shoulder grazed. Blood hot as betrayal. A chopper, Lena's pull, dusts off from a coastal LZ. Me bleeding into the hold as the bunker blooms orange. Dawn over the Pacific, fire on water. A Viking funeral for the web. Back stateside. The dump hits. Global outrage. Treaties redrawn. DARPA's neural wing gutted. Victor's paroled. House arrest in Tahoe. Monitored like a lab rat. We reunite on the lake. Awkward as new skins. Barbecue smoke. Mom's potato salad. His laugh cracking rust. Billionaire tour guide. He toasts. Eyes wet. Who'da thunk? Wanderwise caps at $1 bill valuation. Donated wholesale to the foundation. Me a steward. Not sovereign. I guide now. For real. Small groups on California trails. Sharing stories sans screens. This path, I say, pointing to a hidden cove, leads to whatever you need it to. Users leave reviews. Eleanor didn't just show the way, she became it. Ending? No tidy bow. The weave's dead. But its shadow lingers, in debates over echo rights, in my migraines that whisper alternate lives. Happy? In fragments, Mom's smile. Victor's tentative emails, fishing tomorrow? Lena's ring on my finger, proposal over foe. Classic. Tragic? In the graves, Dad's unspoken burdens. Silas's void. Innocence caught in the crossfire. America argues. As it should, was I avenger or accelerant? The app's final prompt. Your story ends or evolves. I choose evolves. Revenge rebuilt the world, but forgiveness rebuilds the soul. Lace up, reader. The trail's yours.